of Los Angeles is the busiest in the Western Hemisphere, but now it's preparing for a dramatic slowdown, according to Executive Director Gene Soroka. What do you anticipate happening over the next couple of weeks?
In 2 weeks' time, Carter, we'll see a drop on our import side of the business by about a third. And it could be as much as 40% the week to follow. Most American importers are saying that they're stopping shipments out of China because they simply weren't going to pay 2.5 times the cost of the goods.
With a 145% tariff, a container of Chinese goods worth $100,000 will now cost importers an extra $145,000.
With information coming out of Washington seemingly by the hour, it's tough to get a line of sight on what's next. Inventory on hand right now in the United States will last for about 6 to 8 weeks. After that, shelves will be bare. We won't be able to buy as much online.
All of these games come from China.
At the Game Chest, owner Miriam Ahamami has been stockpiling toys and games that arrived before the tariffs.
So I'm buying what I think I'll sell between now and September.
You sound like a hoarder.
I feel like a hoarder. If you've seen my stores, you would see the hoarding in the back rooms.
80% of her merchandise comes from China, and board games are her biggest sellers. Seems like you should be able to make a board game in the U.S.
It's true. It does look easy, but it's filled with lots and lots of different parts and pieces. And there's just not enough manufacturing here to be able to do that successfully.
At this point, even if the tariffs are reduced significantly,
it'll still take about 10 days to 2 weeks to get these ships back in line over in China. Then it's a 2-week trip here to LA. So we're starting to cut it pretty close with respect to inventory in the U.S.
So we might see some empty shelves even if the tariffs are brought down in the next couple of weeks.
We're running out of time on that. And if we have fewer items to select from, that's going to put a pinch on the American buyer.
So Walmart and Target went to the Trump administration and said shelves will start to look empty by the summer. This is what this means. So this is the current map of outgoing, incoming shipments into China, East Asia. Pretty busy, I think everyone would agree. Each one of these is a cargo ship with hundreds of containers on it. Now typically this is what the port of LA looks like. Currently, this is what the port of LA is looking like. If you look at the number of yellow ships coming in, it's very, very low. This is not normal. These are supposed to be consumer products and all the things that we use on a daily basis. Those are not coming in. When you wonder how tariffs will affect the consumer, importers like me have asked to stop shipments coming in. We cannot afford these tariffs and we don't think our customers will pay for that. So now basic supply and demand, with decreased supply, prices will go up significantly.
Shortages are coming. The CEO of huge corporations such as Walmart, Target, Home Depot has had to sit down with the principal to talk about the devastation that it will leave this country. But not only that, they are warning that, and mind you, Walmart is one of the largest employers in our country, in America. And they are warning that the shelves will become empty. What they're saying is that they privately was warning Trump that this trade war and this market slump that we are experiencing with his tariffs and his trade policy could disrupt the supply chain and raise prices, which would also cause shelves to be empty. However, there is such a bigger picture to this. This will cause a hit on America by $2 trillion, and it will affect the U.S. economy. Now, what happens is empty shelves will lead to no sales, okay? With no sales will cause massive layoffs. With the massive layoffs will become no unemployment rate will spike, and then we will begin to see the recession. That is what is getting ready to take place. If these tariffs continue, shelves will be empty. Prepare your families. If you guys have not been preparing for the last 3 years, since the C in the number, we've been telling you guys that this was coming. Amazon has already spiked their prices on about 1,000 products across their site already. So it is already hitting and affecting your major retailers. Now, with this, it's not just going to affect those who don't have much. It's going to affect everyone.
Well, breaking fucking news. So not only are the last cargo ships arriving to the United States this week that will be carrying cargo that will not be tariffed, because after this, every cargo ship that arrives in the United States will be hit with 145% tariff. Truck drivers across the United States are quitting in mass. Yes, the truck drivers that are legal citizenships who also have legal driver's licenses are quitting in mass and selling their trucks. So not only are we going to be facing a crisis of items coming into the United States, we're also going to be facing a crisis of items being able to be delivered to businesses.
For any American who believes that these tariffs is a good thing so that America can start depending on themselves, let me let you in on something, honey. Maybe you have been in a hole for the last 100 years, but we don't have the infrastructure to support ourselves. Most of our cars are not even made here, okay? We still get most of it made over somewhere else. The parts and things still come from China, even if the plant is here and is put together here, okay? Do a little bit of research. So you're not just going to bankrupt other countries. No, they're going to be fine because they have the infrastructure to maintain. This is bankrupting America from the inside, okay? Because Americans don't have the infrastructure to produce what we import. Baby, we barely actually can produce our own freaking electricity. We get electricity from Canada, from the northern part of the United States. So if you think that all these tariffs and all this, and you're thinking like the war trade is just affecting foreigners, no, honey, this is American business owners who have dreams that their products that they've created their dream life around have to be imported because America gave up on factory work and all that stuff a long time ago. And all those factories are abandoned. It would take too long to recreate all that infrastructure. So where is this stuff gonna come from? So these same people who saying now, like, oh, Americans need to learn to rely on themselves, so this is a good thing. Okay, we're gonna see how you feel like 6 months from now, because when it comes to you and the things that you like, you're going to feel different about this.
What are the consequences of the fact that there's no ships coming in to the biggest port on the West Coast? The port in LA is reporting that there are no ships with shipping containers. The port is basically empty. And the same thing has happened in Seattle. And this happened pretty quickly, right? The tariffs came in and people are not ordering anything, and people who have ordered things have canceled their orders. And the implications for this are mainly for the American economy right now. China has lots of flexibility to be able to handle this. They can give grants to companies and things like that because they are running their economy very differently, and they've also don't have the same sort of debt load that the Americans are facing. But the implications for this are just catastrophic for the U.S. I mean, the first one that you can see right away is for truckers. There are reports that the truckers, the level of demand right now is the same as for Thanksgiving, U.S. Thanksgiving and Christmas Day, which is the lowest of the year, and that is every day. So you're going to see truckers laid off, you're going to see port workers laid off, and the cascading effect obviously through that local economy will happen fairly quickly because those people are not going to have the money to be able to spend, and it's going to affect the real estate in those places as well. But think about the stores and the companies that need components to manufacture things. There's all sorts of things that are manufactured in the U.S. using components that come from overseas, and then people who need tools. Most of the tools are manufactured in the States, in China. You need those tools. You need them to be relatively inexpensive so you can run your business. And so the cascading effect of this will be, of course, a decline in the economy, and you probably see some readjustment in certain prices because there'll be very little competition for it. So, there's all of these cancellations of meat orders going to China, which is going to affect the price of beef and pork, and all of those things are going to drop for Americans. And that's wonderful for Americans, except it's going to put a lot of farmers out of business because they're already selling at very low margins to start with. So you'll see some economic decline, which will in some sectors lead to deflationary pressures, but for the most part, you're just going to see economy slipping into failure mode, and the worst recession ever, because it's not just some sort of over exuberance or something like that in some sector or another. It's actually just pulling the fundamentals out of the economy and throwing it into collapse. And this is just the start. I made a TikTok a few weeks ago saying, get prepared. In a couple of weeks, you're going to start seeing shortages of things on store shelves. And when there's no ships coming from China, you're going to see shortages of things on store shelves happening really quickly now, because they rely on very tight schedules for things. It's really, computers are ordering, making the orders. When something is sold in a store, an order goes to the head office and it automatically goes to the supplier in China. And when they cut that off a few weeks back, when the tariffs were first imposed, that was the end of those replacement orders coming in for things that are on the store shelf. So things that you need that are like hard goods manufactured in China, and that's most of what you need. If you're in the US, you should be going and buying it now. Of course, in Canada, this isn't affecting us at all because we're not putting any weird tariffs on things coming from China. But when you see a harbor that has no ships and a busy port like LA and Seattle with nothing on the dock, I can tell you that's worse than anything we experienced in the pandemic, and it's completely self-inflicted.
We are being told the American ports are empty. The cargoes are coming in, the ship are coming in, containers are empty. They're coming in from China, but the containers are empty as a result of the tariffs. China right now, the tariffs for China is around 245 between there. Is it 145 to 200 the last time I checked? So that is outrageous amount of money that you're required to pay in order for you to, as a business person, to ship, products from China to America, and that's very, very expensive. And of which that cost you need to transfer to your consumer, and most consumer will not be able to buy those products because it's going to be very expensive, outrageously expensive. Something which costs like maybe $1, if you introduce those tariffs that are being implemented right now, it's going to cost maybe like $20 or even $30, which is very, very expensive. And some people will definitely shake their head and say, you know what, I'm not going to buy this stuff. I'm going to check on alternative product in the market. And that's basically what is happening in America right now. So most business people, what they have decided is basically either to close down their shops, or maybe also some have decided, you know what, I'm gonna wait up until tariffs go back to normal, and then I'm gonna resume my business as usual. And for consumers in America right now, if you go to the supermarket and realize your favorite product is not available, just know that the tariffs is the consequences, because right now the world operates like a global village. The supply and demand right now, it's operating worldwide. What you normally get from China sometimes is sourced from other parts of the world, because trading in the world right now, it has tentacles across the world, and that is the reality. So if you introduce tariffs across the board, it's gonna affect the supply chain, it's gonna affect, and countries are going to retaliate, and that's exactly what we are seeing. As a result, now we are seeing American consumer paying the price by paying double or even 10 times the normal what they usually normally charged, and in the process some people will not be able to afford this product. In the process, especially people who are living paycheck to paycheck will not be able to afford this product, and they'll be forced to either choose what is important, whether to buy this grocery or to forgo a utility, or maybe just to forgo everything so that they'll be able to afford maybe a roof over their head. So some people are going to be forced to make some difficult choices in order just to survive during this difficult time. Like they say, ports are empty in America, and if ports are empty in America, it will result to empty shelves in America. And if we are going to have empty shelves in America's supermarket, that's going to result to low sales in the supermarket, because when consumers go to the supermarket, they are going to find empty shelves. That means they're not going to buy anything, and if they are going to be low sales in the supermarket of America, then it's going to result to mass layoff. Of course, if there are no jobs in the supermarket, people are not buying products, because there are no products to buy, then the people are going to be fired from their jobs. And if people are going to get fired from their jobs, then it's going to result to people, you know, having a spike in unemployment across the country. And if the unemployment is very high across the country, it's going to result to recession in America. And that's basically what America right now is experiencing. They are looking at recession at the moment if this process continue as it is. Experts, economics have literally warned about this situation, and they are warning that these tariffs across the board, they're hurting the American economy. So far, American economy has lost trillions and trillions of dollars. As of the last time I checked, it was around maybe over $5 trillion, something like that. The GDP of America has literally shrunk since the current principal came into power. The stock market right now has tanked because right now the investors, they're looking at America economy as is not stable. They don't look at it favorably because they're not understanding exactly what is happening. So across the board, America is suffering as a result of this tariff. So what's going to happen? Only time will tell. So let me know what you think. How is it affecting you, these tariffs? Let me know and drop your comments. All right, bye bye.